Hello and welcome to Wrestling for Us. And we have our resident partner in crime, Aman, to discuss all the cool things that have been happening in wrestling. And we're going to start off with the big one. Aman, we're going to start off with the big one. Shane McMahon. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to talk Shane. Cody Rhodes has left AEW, and there's talks about him going to WWE. There's talks about, arguments with Tony Khan, all the cool stuff. Give us an update. Give us your thoughts, and let's get down to it.
It's just, I thought it was just going to be like another normal Tuesday. It's Raw. There's nothing really exciting happening, but big bombshell. And I think the biggest, it was a huge surprise for me, really, because I think if you think of AEW, you think of Cody Rhodes as one of the main guys for that company. He was there from the beginning. So very surprised to hear that he's left. And then obviously within minutes of him leaving, or the announcement being put on social media that he's left, there was just rampant speculation that, oh my God, he's going to WWE, which seems to be the thing. Like, if you believe what is said on social media and stuff, then that seems to be like a done deal, or being close to a done deal, and he's going to show up anytime now. I listened to Jim Ross's podcast. It's called Grilling JR. Definite listen to anybody who wants to listen to like wrestling podcasts and stuff like that. But he says that throughout his experience, people have only left a company for two reasons. One is they're not getting enough cash, and the second is they're not happy with their creative. So I think there's been rumors for months and months that when Cody and the Bucks and Kenny and everybody came in initially, they were like given executive vice president roles, and they had a hand in creative, and they had a hand in how the show was presented and what stars they were bringing in and stuff like that. But then as time has gone on, Tony Khan has reduced their management responsibilities and is like the head of everything, like the head of creative, head of management, head of all that sort of stuff, which, if you believe what's said, that Cody didn't really like that, and wanted to be in charge of his own creative, wanted to have some say and influence in how the show was presented and everything. So maybe that's where they've had some issues, or some they couldn't quite come to an agreement, because the statement that was put out by both Tony Khan and Cody seemed very respectful, very polite, didn't seem to wouldn't have any veiled comments or read between the lines sort of thing. Seemed to be like they just couldn't reach a deal on this occasion. But it would really, really surprise me if Cody went back to WWE, because this is the same guy who left WWE 5 years ago, made a rival company, which is now major competition to WWE. I don't really care what people say about that. Oh, it's not competition. It is competition. So I can see why Vince would want to do it, because why wouldn't you just take one of the main guys from that company on your company right in time for WrestleMania season? Why not? And I don't think personally it would have been a money issue, because I think Tony has enough deep pockets as Vince does. But this is the same person who went to court over intellectual property rights over his surname, because can you remember for the first few months he couldn't be called Cody Rhodes because Rhodes was WWE owned that name, that surname. So unless Vince is literally like throwing cash at him and is saying, oh, I'll give you creative freedom, I'll do this, I'll do that, I don't see why you would go to WWE. Because I just think, okay, fair enough, you'll bring him, there'll be lots of speculation, lots of momentum and everything, especially around WrestleMania season. But then say 2, 3, 4 months down the line, I don't think that once all the fanfare has died down, Cody will be back to the same stuff he was doing prior to leaving WWE. He'll be back in the Stardust gimmick, back in the mid-card. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Do you think this could be the reason why we've seen him kind of depreciate over the last few months in AEW? Whenever he's shown up, it's not like the crowd has a mixed reaction. He's a very smart guy. I'm not saying he isn't, but a lot of his creative choices seemed weird. But it could be the fact that Tony Khan's probably said, "Do it this way. Do this. This is what you need to do." And Cody's like, "Man, it ain't good enough. But I'll do it because this is what my boss is saying," right? Yeah. That's probably what he's thinking at that time. And he's coming out there cutting really nice promos, like that promo that he did. I can't remember, but basically the face and heel one. I was like, that was fantastic, right? And I'm sure he gave it a chance. That's why he probably stuck around a month, even after a month after his contract officially ended, right? Yeah. But he just realized the roster is a bit bloated on both ends. AEW and WWE. CM Punk is there. No offense, Cody. He's a bigger star than you. Bryan Danielson is there. No offense, Cody. He's a bigger star than you. Adam Cole, Young Bucks, Kenny Omega together. No offense, Cody. Together, they're bigger stars than you, right? At this point, the way they've built up Darby, MJF, Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho in general, right? These guys, if not bigger than Cody Rhodes, they're about the same level. So having so many guys on the roster at a similar level just doesn't, I don't think that would have probably fit in very well with him, or it just wouldn't give him as much pleasure to say, "Oh, I want to fight Sammy Guevara, but I think he lost to him anyways, didn't he? He lost to Sammy Guevara, he lost to Darby Allin and MJF, so he's lost to all the newbies, but all the big guys, right? For lack of a better term, he's probably like, "Oh, if I face them, I want to beat him." So those types of things. On top of that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is Brandy his wife, right? Yeah, Brandy's AEW stint has been not good in the 3 years. What was that? Nightmare something? I don't remember what it was called. Nightmare Family. And where she just came in and she was just recruiting people for.
Oh yeah. That weird women's faction type.
Yes, yeah.
Never really got started.
Exactly. Yeah. Then it was the Nightmare Family with the two brothers, her, other wrestlers and stuff. And she wasn't really a big part of the entire thing. And I feel like maybe both of them decided, they were like, "You're not getting great creative. I'm trying to pull something off, but I don't feel good about it. Yes, Tony can give us money, but maybe it's the creative freedom that they actually need." And then on the back of that, you mentioned that you don't see them, or at least Cody, going to WWE. The only reason why I think he might go to WWE is the fact that Eric Bischoff, 2002, right? WCW is basically on the decline, done, whatever, and brings in Eric Bischoff. So this is like a perfect Vince McMahon cocktail to say, "Oh, I got the guy. I got the guy that got that started. So we're better. He chose us." And it just feels like something that he would do. And for that reason, again, my hat's in the fact that, at least he's got, I think the latest he's going to be in WWE is probably the Raw after Mania. Like that's my thinking. Raw after Mania, I think he's probably going to be in WWE. But I'm glad you don't agree with that, because I've got a follow-up question. It's not that I don't agree with it. I think he probably will end up in WWE, but I don't understand the reason why. Like, if it's a creative issue, you are going to the place where Vince has such a tight hold. Maybe he said you get creative freedom like Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar.
Highly doubt it.
Dude, he's a huge star now, comparatively, compared to where he was.
100% agree with you. His stock, since he left WWE to now, has grown exponentially. He is a huge, massive star. He has built his own stock from when he left WWE to going to Ring of Honor, New Japan, AEW, going on the Indies. He has built himself again. But I don't know why you would go back to a place where the creative is questionable at best. And verbally, if Vince is saying to him, "Oh yeah, I'll give you creative freedom," if I was Cody, I would be like, "I want it in writing in my contract that I get creative freedom." Otherwise, it's just words.
True.
It's nothing. It's just words. And I have been quite vocal about Cody's creative in AEW. For me personally, the only two things I've enjoyed of Cody Rhodes' time in AEW was his feud with Chris Jericho
and his feud with MJF.
and then his feud with MJF.
Which is 2 years ago.
Yeah. I kind of liked the Malachi Black feud, but it kind of just dragged on for no reason. Everything else, apart from like his feud with Anthony Ogogo, his feud with QT Marshall, and then this Shaq mixed tag team match, and everything else he was doing, it was just mind-boggling to me. It's just not going anywhere.
That Shaq match was genuinely just to boost and
it was a proper rating. Yeah,
it was proper rating and introduce Jade Cargill and get her to be shown as the big big strong machine that she is. So
if I was Cody, I would be like, okay, I'm going to go to New Japan. I'm going to go to the Indies. I'm going to do this. On Busted Open, they were talking about this, and Bully Bubba Ray Dudley, he said, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody buys Ring of Honor because it's on a hiatus right now. He probably has sufficient cash for it as well, and builds it in his image. If he's so insistent that I want creative control, I want a wrestling company presented in my image or how I would like to show it, buy Ring of Honor. I don't know if it's for sale right now, but he could certainly make a pitch.
You know what? That's a really good idea, because that was going to be my next question. If not WWE, then what are his options? New Japan obviously makes sense, and I'm sure he's going to explore that option for sure. But the buying something or building another company from scratch seems like something that he might be interested in because of the creative differences that they've cited.
It might all just be speculation, because from other interviews in the past, I don't know how old he is right now, but he was saying that I'm going to retire when I'm 40. I want to run for Congress in his home state of Georgia. So he might.
I think you mentioned that, didn't you?
Yeah.
You said so, yeah.
He might become a politician. His wife's just had a baby girl. He might want to retire and become like a family man. God knows. But it's just come up really out of left field that he's left. And like you said, the roster is so full. They have 2-hour Dynamite and then a 1-hour Rampage, and then they have those YouTube shows. So they don't really have much TV time for as many stars as they have.
Yeah.
So it's just really wait and see what happens type of deal. I don't know if he has like a non-compete clause where he can't wrestle or appear on.
I don't think it's WWE, so the non-compete is probably non-existent. I don't think he has a non-compete. He can genuinely turn up and wrestle on freaking SmackDown tomorrow if he wants to. I think that's the situation he's in.
Yeah.
And I've got a question for you about, we talked about someone who's left AEW, someone who's staying at AEW is Chris Jericho, right? Mm-hmm. And there's talks about potentially Buddy Murphy coming to AEW. Now, my question is, Chris Jericho staying there makes sense. He's doing pretty great things. Mm-hmm. Or let me rephrase that. He's been doing things, okay? Yeah. He's been doing things. Right? If they've lost someone like Cody, do you think bringing in someone else who, again, is not that caliber, maybe a little lower down on the pecking order, but someone who can be a great wrestler, someone who's got the talent in the ring, bringing him in would be beneficial to AEW? Or do you think they should just go on a hiatus of not bringing any more wrestlers in over the next couple of months?
I'm a bit split about that, because I can see both sides of the argument. I can see from like a management perspective and from Tony Khan's point of view, he would be like, well, it's a free market, everybody is fair game if they're willing to talk and discuss and things like that. But then I think the question is, how many people do you want to bring? How many people do you already have? How much TV time can you give to people? Because people need to, like fans like you and I, need to invest in these people. And if they're not going to be on TV as regular, then you don't get the opportunity to invest in those characters. So I would probably reserve it until if it's like a big name. Say, for example, if Bray Wyatt comes to Tony Khan and says, I want to sign with you, no brainer. But if it's somebody who, like a Buddy Murphy, who fantastic talent, criminally underused in on the main roster in WWE, I would think twice about it, because not to sound harsh or disrespectful, but you could be like, well, I have so many people already here on the same level as you. who I could invest my time and resources in. And then, especially from a talent perspective, you would see all these new people coming in, like they just hired Keith Lee, big name. But people in the back would be like, okay, there's another person that I'm competing for TV time with. How many people are going to turn up here? You know? So I think that he might start having to look at, okay, do I really need this person here?
I think they, from the AEW perspective, do you think they should do 1-year contracts rather than doing long-term contracts because of the fact that, I'm not bored of CM Punk yet. I'm not bored of Bryan Danielson yet. But if I was a lesser fan, I'd probably be like, yeah, dude, he's been on TV for the last 6 months. I don't want to see him anymore. Or I don't want to see him for the next 2 years or XYZ. So yeah, definitely something that he will need to consider moving forward. Let me ask you, the last point I wanted to discuss was with regards to WWE. They've got Elimination Chamber or whatever it's called, Saudi Chamber. Hey, puns intended, right? So the Chamber going on, and we've got Brock Lesnar in there. You got Bobby Lashley. You got, I think, Austin Theory and not Kevin Owens for some reason. Kevin Owens has that potential Stone Cold feud that I know you want to talk about, but I just want to ask you. I just want your initial prediction. Do you think the WWE Championship is going to change hands at the Chamber or not?
I do. I think your main event for WrestleMania, probably day 2, is 2 days this year, I think. But for day 2 is going to be Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar WWE Champion. Whether they do it as a unification,
I'd be happy with that. I'd personally be happy with that.
I don't have any issues with it, but I just, what is the longevity afterwards? Are you unifying the championships? Are you ending like the brand split? What are you doing? Personally, I think that Brock Roman match doesn't need like 2 championships or unification. There is enough story and investment in that feud that it doesn't need the unification thing. But I think Vince just likes high stakes, he wants WrestleMania obviously to sell out, and he wants his main event to be the biggest it can be.
Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, WrestleMania 20. I'm sure they were both champions before it, or just around that. They were just champions just before it, weren't they?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Because I think No Way Out had that face-to-face thing. Maybe Roman loses it to Goldberg, and then Bobby keeps it, and then it's Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg for the unification title.
I hope not.
It's not going to happen. I'm just throwing it out there.
Hope not. I was watching that promo of Roman's last week where he's like, I'm going to Goldberg, and I was like, what does that mean? And then like 5 minutes, beat him within 5 minutes.
Yeah, so basically, until 2018 /2019, that's what it meant. But then the Undertaker match happened, and that has literally tarnished my favorite wrestler's entire career. In one 10-minute, 12-minute match, he destroyed a legacy of 22 years. That's what happens when you face Undertaker when he's old, all right? And again, I'm not blaming Goldberg. I don't blame Goldberg. Of course I'm blaming Goldberg. Dude, he couldn't lift him up. He busted his head open.
Why is he in the ring for?
Exactly. Right. Again, we could talk about this, and this will become a different podcast called Goldberg Hate versus Goldberg Love, but that's for another time. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens. Should it happen? And if it should, what should happen?
I would love to see Stone Cold come back. Who wouldn't?
57 years old. 57 years old.
Exactly. But anybody who is a wrestling fan wouldn't want to see Stone Cold. And in WrestleMania is in his home state this year, Texas. So you would get a monster pop, and you would sell the place out in seconds with Austin's return, if that happens. But I only want it to happen if Stone Cold is the Stone Cold of old, and he can provide a good level enough match, which I'm sure he would be saying, I'm in my 50s now, can I come back and go at that level as people would expect me to? If not, then I would say no. I'd still have him there, but I would just...
I think it... when Kevin Owens was a good guy, I wanted both of them to like stunner both two people together and then do the beers thing, and then Stone Cold stunners him at the end, and like that. That's it. Now I think because Owens is now there for a while, this must have been a conversation. This must have been a conversation that they had. Oh, you wanna fight Stone Cold? And he's like, yeah, maybe. And then Stone Cold's probably like, Stone Cold didn't face Brock because he was like, nah, I don't want to face Brock, like, or Goldberg. So like my point is, Stone Cold isn't the type of guy who will easily agree to a wrestling match. That's what I can tell. Worst case scenario, what I want to see is Stone Cold appears on WrestleMania, which is like a 95% probability. He's going to appear. I just don't know what he's going to do. Yeah. And he stunners Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens has the best reaction to a stunner, and he beats The Rock's flippy doodah thingamabob, right? And that's the only thing I can think. I don't see him wrestling because you think of Sting. Sting wrestled in 2014, 2015 in WWE, right? And then he showed up in AEW like 5-6 years later, and he's 60 or 62, whatever his age is. Stone Cold Steve Austin, on purpose, left wrestling in 2002/3. I was like, yeah, no more of this for me. It's really weird if he's going to come up and do a wrestling match. It's going to tarnish, again, I feel really bad to say this, but Shawn Michaels should not have done Crown Jewel a couple of years ago. No. Shawn Michaels, the legacy of freaking Shawn Michaels that I will not come back, should have been upheld. Yeah. Unlike Undertaker, Triple H, freaking Goldberg, every single legend that WWE. Basically, all of these guys, no offense, I'm really sorry, please don't kill me. All of the wrestler guys, right? They're like, we're going to spend all our money in 2 years, and then we're going to try and see if we can come back to WWE for a cheap pop and get some more money. And then we're going to spend that money, so then we have to come back again. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm just kidding here, obviously, but yeah, I just don't see it. And I'm a fan of legends. I want legends in. They're going to Saudi Arabia. Of course, they're going to bring legends back, but I don't expect them to have wrestling matches. Like, I would have been happier if they didn't have wrestling matches. They just had like segments, or, they have a conversation, or they do like a couple of moves and that's it. But doing a proper wrestling match, yeah, I don't think Stone Cold should do that. That's
like I said, I think if he can go and he thinks his body can provide a level of match that he used to do, then fine, go for it. But if it's not, then I agreed. It'll comparisons will happen that he's not what he used to be, and they shouldn't have brought him back. Then I think it'll tarnish the legacy that he left. But question for you: if the match does happen, who goes over?
Owens.
Really?
I think Owens should go over. He won't, but I think Owens should go over because that's the rub that he needs, right? Exactly. He doesn't need, technically, but because it's WWE, Stone Cold's going to beat him 2 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think Kevin should go over. He'd get a major rub from Stone Cold, but they're in Texas. Stone Cold's return match, and
Kevin Owens is already badmouthed Texas, right? Yeah. And he's going in as heel.
I don't think Vince would allow that to happen.
It's going to be Stone Cold do the, what is it called, the kitchen sink. He's going to do the jump with the punches. He's going to do and then he's going to stunner and then win the match.
I think Vince would consider it a rub enough that, look, you are in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
See, which I think is just, if it's a long match and if the person is in his prime, then I understand. But if not, again, that's just my train of thought. But I think it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're on the same page on that. Yeah. I think that's about it. That's all I want to talk about. Obviously, we know about Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey becoming Royal Rumble champion and going to WrestleMania as in the main event. And you can clearly see how enthused I am by all of this news. Yeah. But I'm really disappointed that it's not Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. It is Becky Lynch versus Lita in the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. So, premium live event. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. And Lita's going to lose terribly. And then it's going to be Bianca versus Becky. Bianca's going to beat Becky. And it's going to be Charlotte and Ronda's going to win. And it's going to be Brock and Roman, and Brock's going to win. So basically, I'm writing WWE WrestleMania just on a whim. So apologies for anyone watching for the spoilers. Crazy if I'm wrong about all of them. Anyways, thank you, man. Thank you as always. Really appreciate the time. For everyone watching, please do like, share, and subscribe if you do like the content. And we're going to try, again, it's usually me that I'm like, let's delay it. We're going to try and keep it consistent. Thursdays/Fridays, every week we're going to release some sort of conversation about what is happening in the world of wrestling, or this week in wrestling. But this is actually this month in wrestling, technically. But yeah, thank you, man. And until next time, everyone, take care.